Welcome to Guitar Lessons for Beginners. This is video 3 of 6. I'm Jake with Guitar Gym Pro. Let's dive into it. So last time we worked on the chord progression for our song, Will the Circle Be Unbroken? So today, what we're gonna work on is we're gonna learn how to strum. We're gonna learn how to strum Will the Circle Be Unbroken? And as a bonus, I'm gonna teach you the alternating bass drum, which a lot of people play when they're doing this song. So let's talk about how we strum. We count in groups of 4 over and over again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. And each number is going to be a down strum. So I usually write it down like this. I use a D for down. And so I would count 1, 2, 3, 4 and strum. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then I would repeat it over and over again. So it would be 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And just keep repeating that over and over again, right? Practicing those down strums. So we're counting in 4. But all those downs, not super fun for a strumming pattern, right? It's not quite enough. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna add an and after each number. So that little plus, I say and. And those ands are gonna be up strums. And so that's gonna look like this. You see I have the D for down, U for up, which would be 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and that's it. Nothing more fancy than that. So let's talk about making strum patterns. What we're gonna do for a strumming pattern is we're actually gonna pick some of the downs and the ups to not strum. So let's take a look at what one of those looks like. Okay. So you'll notice that and after 1 and that and after 3, they don't have a letter. And so what I'm doing there is I'm not actually strumming the guitar. I'm gonna do what's called a ghost strum. I'm still gonna move my right hand like I were strumming, but I'm not gonna actually make contact with the strings. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and, right? I'm doing a ghost strum when I don't have the letter there. Down, ghost, down, up, down, ghost, down, up. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So what we're gonna do is make a couple other patterns. I've got 6 for you today to work on. Okay, so this one's just a little bit different. Let's count off and try it. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2, ghost, 3 and 4, ghost, 1 and 2, ghost, 3 and 4, ghost. Now, feel free to pause for a second and count and try to play these while you're able to look at them on the screen here. I'm going to try this one now. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and I already messed it up. One more try. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. All right, now let's take a second and talk about how we might practice this. So this is my metronome down here, and I've got it set to 60 beats per minute. What I would do is I would pick one of these strum patterns. Let's try this third one down here because I just messed it up. I could use a little work on that. I'm gonna start the metronome. I'm gonna count in with it, and then I'm gonna start strumming it. I might do it for a minute, 90 seconds, 2 minutes, something like that. And then I would speed it up by, let's say, 8 beats per minute, and I would go to maybe 68 beats per minute. And then I would go to 76, let's say, until I start to feel really, really comfortable with this. So let's try it. 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Right, so I'm using that metronome to keep my pulse steady. One thing that you really want to watch out for is we want to make sure that the distance between our number and our and is like perfectly even. So let me give you an example of that. I'm just going to strum 1 and 2 and. Now I can make my 1 long and the and short, 1 and 2 and, right? 1 and 2 and 3. That's long, short, long, short. Now that's called swing, and there's styles of music that do that. Blues, long, short, long, short, long, short, right? Like different styles of music will use swing, jazz does. Sometimes bluegrass will have like a little bit of a lilt, but most of the time we want to play things really, really straight and even. Then we could also do short, long, and a lot of new guitar players tend to do this because we're trying to get everything right. 1 and, 2 and, 3 and, and that's not something any style of music that I'm aware of uses. So I just want to make sure we're 1 and 2 and we're putting that and right in the middle between 1 and 2, and the metronome is really going to help us do that. All right, let's look. I said 6 strum patterns. We got 3 more. Here we go. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Okay. All right. Let's move on to the next one. Okay, so this one, we have the down up at the beginning, just the down on 2, just the down on 3, and the down up on 4. So the thing to watch out for with this one is at the end, when we do the down up on 4, remember we're going right back to 1 and doing the down up again. So let's play this one twice. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. All right, here's our 6th and final. Here we go. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. All right, so those are our 6 strumming patterns that we've talked about, and our next step is learning and playing the strum pattern for our song. Here it is. So hopefully that looks familiar. It is the first pattern that we learned, right? So we went through a lot of those strumming things, and we went through learning those 6 patterns, all of which are pretty common, useful patterns we'll see pretty regularly. But ultimately, this first one is the one that we're doing for our song. So let's just review it really quick on this G chord. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. And I can't overstate how important that that ghost strum is, right? Making sure that even when we're not strumming on an and, we're going up with the pick and just missing the strings. So let's take a look at this chord progression here. It's the same as it was in our last video when we went over it. Now, this 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and this whole strumming pattern fits in this single measure. So that very first measure that I'm just kind of circling with my mouse now is 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and so we would do that 4 times on a G. Then we would do it twice on a C, twice on a G, right? Twice on a C, twice on a G, 4 more times on G, 5th time on G, once on a D, and then twice more on G. So this song, a lot is hanging out on this G. So what I want to do is I'm going to strum this whole song, or not the whole song, this whole section, which is one verse of the song or one chorus of the song, at this 60 beats per minute. So, all right, I'm going to start my metronome. I'm going to count in, and then I'm going to go ahead and strum it at 60 beats per minute. And then I'll do it once faster. We'll go, let's say, 84, for example. All right, here we go. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 2 Let's try to play it now at 84 beats per minute, so a little bit faster. 1, 2, 3, and 4. right, so that was our whole chord progression at 84 beats per minute. So just a little bit faster. So let's talk actually about a few tips for changing chords before we go into that alternating bass drum. So right now, these chords, not super hard to change between. We don't have a ton of movement going on, which is great. That's awesome for learning, an easy, a simple song, but ultimately we're gonna get into some bigger chord changes, and so I wanna talk about that. Our number one goal when we're changing from a G to a C or a G to a D is that we land on beat 1. That is our main goal. When we hit beat 1 of the C chord, we're playing the C chord. That means we need to start moving on beat 4, right? So I know the G chord has the down up on beat 4, but I want to start moving on that beat 4. It's okay to not be perfect. Let me show you what I mean. So if I'm on this G, 1, 2, and 3, I'm moving, 4, and 1. Now I really over-exaggerated. I don't need quite that much time to change, but that beat 4 being not quite right will be way more forgiven in an audience's mind. They won't even notice it really, than not being on beat 1 on the C chord. Let me show you the difference. So here's me playing with the 4 not being perfect. Now, here's me not getting to beat 1. Do you hear how much more noticeable not being on beat 1 is? So we want to make sure beat 1 is the most sacred. We're there with the new chord right on time. So be okay with leaving a little early, maybe having beat 4 not sound as perfect as it might, so that beat 1 can sound perfect. That's the most important part. All right, now we're gonna dig into our bonus, alternating bass drum. So beat 1 and beat 3 of our pattern will be just a single plucked string. So instead of strumming 1, 2, and, we're gonna pluck 1, 2, and. But we need to pluck certain strings with certain chords. Let's talk about that. So our 6 string chords, and in this case our G chord, we're gonna pluck string 6 and 4. If you remember, string 5 gets muted by our middle finger. So we're actually gonna jump over it. On beat 3, we're gonna pluck string 4. So it'll be 6, strum, 4, strum, 6, strum, 4, strum. For our 6 string chord, now for our 5th string chord or our 5 string chord, it's gonna be our C. We're actually gonna pluck strings 5 and string 6. But we're not using anything on string 6, right? That's not part of this chord. So what do? We actually need to move our middle finger. So we're gonna pluck string 5, strum, move our middle finger, pluck string 6. For our 4 string chord, our D chord, we're gonna pluck strings 4, which is open, and string 5, which can also be open. Let's try this on the whole song. 1 and 2 and 3. Will the circle be unbroken by and by, Lord, by and by? There's a better home awaiting in the sky, Lord, in the sky. All right, so that is the alternating bass drum over the whole tune with that whole chord progression. So what's next? If you're having fun playing guitar, if you want to learn more songs, if you want to get better at playing, please join me in my free community and course, school.com/guitar. School with a K, SKOOL.com/guitar. It's called Gateway to Guitar, and it is a place where there are a ton of guitar players just like you learning to play. I'm in there answering questions, doing play-alongs, working through practice plans. I'm uploading content all the time. We have a blast and we play a lot of guitar. But I am going to recommend you another video now. If you want to go ahead and play some more songs, this one would be a great one to do next.